So excited for the opportunity to be here. Thankful for Mr. Tepper, for Frank giving me the opportunity, for Scott, for Samir and his involvement. Also appreciate my wife and my 3 boys for sacrificing so much for me to have the opportunity to be in this profession. Also for my wife predicting my second straight job, so she kind of told me a little earlier this month, this season I'll be able to have the opportunity to be here at Carolina. So excited about it, looking forward to it, ready to roll. Questions?
Thomas, Joe Person with The Athletic, welcome.
Thank you.
You had other opportunities too. What was it that made this one stand out?
So to me, it's all about the people. I think having an opportunity to talk to Frank for the first time, he has been first class in every way, from start to finish, as well as everybody from in his organization standpoint. And it was actually Jake Peets, who I work with in LA with the Rams, that kind of started talking about this organization and how great it was and how much he loved being here, and just that first conversation with Frank. I think it was maybe 7:30 a couple Mondays ago, and it was just like an instant connection and having an opportunity to be able to be involved with him and look forward to moving forward.
How you doing, Phil? Can you just elaborate on what your wife said to you, and you said she had done this before? Can you kind of walk me through that?
Yeah, so it's funny, right? So I was in Miami for 3 years, University of Miami as a coordinator from 16 to 18. We would always take trips, West Coast trips, like come to Vegas for a couple of days, come to LA for a couple of days. I believe it was my last year, and she was saying about living in California one day, and I'm like, good luck to you. I'm probably not moving to California. And then 2 years later, I had an opportunity to end up getting the interview with Sean and the Rams, and the rest is kind of history from that standpoint. I think maybe around November-ish. She just said it was like something about Carolina. I'm just, I'm focused on the game day aspect of it and whoever we're playing that day. So I got to give her credit because so listen to her more, I guess.
Thomas, Mike Kay from the Charlotte Observer. How's it going? Welcome.
Great. Thank you.
You brought up your time as an offensive coordinator in Miami,
right.
Getting that title now. I know Frank's going to call plays, but what's your outlook on and your philosophy on offense?
Yeah, so first off, it's about being able to be a great collaborator and a unifier. Our great staff first, the offensive guys we have on our roster currently, but also the guys that have come from draft free agency-wise as well. But it's funny because my interview started with identity-wise as far as the offense goes and philosophy-wise. So identity-wise, I kind of broke it down into 3 points. First is about being physical at all 11 positions. That for myself and this offensive staff is really kind of a non-negotiable when it comes to our approach, our attack to the game. Number 2 was a team that would not beat themselves, because oftentimes, as we know, more games are lost than they are won. So turnovers, eliminating the penalties, and also doing a really good job of understanding how to have great clarity so we don't have missed assignments on offense. And then lastly was about identifying on our offense the playmakers, right? Find, exploit, and win in matchups. That's kind of identity-wise. But philosophy-wise, what you asked me, I kind of break it down as far as number 1 is the ball is the issue. So taking great care of the football, that's the ball carriers, the offensive line being involved up front, the tailback from a play pass protection standpoint, but also receivers being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there as far as route distribution goes. Number 2 is everything starts up front. That physical mentality again, how we're kind of building upon what those guys did last year, camping that crew, doing a really good job of setting the tone mentality-wise, and everything kind of builds off of that system as far as the keepers, the play pass, and obviously the drop-back game as well. Number 3 would end up being the illusion of complexity. So marrying the run, the pass, trying to create chaos for the defense while keeping it simple for us is a thought process that we have as an offensive staff. And then being able to do a really good job of pick and choose your spots to attack with tempo. So you got to earn the right to use tempo with early down efficiency, and finally just that 5th point, it is situational masters. So 3rd down first, where it starts first, winning 1st and 2nd down, so you can be in 3rd and manageables. With 2 minutes into the half, into the game, as well as scoring points in the red zone, so touchdowns in the red zone, as well as game plan and forming offense.
David Newton with ESPN.com. So what are you looking for in a quarterback? That's obviously a big need on this team. And how does that agree with or disagree with for the way Frank Reich, what he's looking for?
Well, I'd say this, we're all in agreement. It's early in the process. I touched down on Sunday, and this is my 4th day in the office. So first day was kind of all HR, so it's kind of still kind of getting adjusted. Just had my 2nd offensive staff meeting. So, but I think from an intangible standpoint, the mental makeup, being a natural leader, we can talk about the physical aspect down the road, but just kind of more so focus on the best fit for us, and we will definitely be on the same page with that.
Coach Ray, Talked about play calling a couple days ago, how eventually he would be ready to give that up.
Right.
What kind of, I'm sorry, I'm Vash here with Carolina Blitz, by the way. What kind of conversations have you guys had about play calling and your input and you guys' collaborative effort offensively?
Yeah, so we talk about it very often. I think from day one, like I said a couple Mondays ago, having that call at 7:30 in the morning is kind of where it started. And then once I had an opportunity to kind of, be here to interview with the entire staff, it's been an ongoing conversation. So it's about collaborating, us being on the same page, but also me earning that right as well.
32 guys that call plays in the NFL. The fact that Frank is willing to put that trust in you, maybe not day one, but eventually, what does that mean for Frank as the head coach, as the leader of this group?
To me, it means the world. I think having an opportunity to be in this role and work with someone that I've never worked with before is probably rare, based on how people hire for the most part, but also shows the commitment from an organization standpoint that it's about doing what's best versus what's most comfortable. So trying to find the best qualified coaches, not just, that's nothing against hiring guys you worked with before, but it's as far as not kind of falling into the mode of always having to recycle coaches, but getting outside of your network of coaching staffs and giving me the opportunity to be able to visit and talk about that role has been awesome to me.
Steve Reed from the Associated Press. This offense really wasn't very good last year, 29th in the league in offense, 29th in scoring.
Yeah.
When you're looking at what you saw on tape, what areas do you feel like you guys got to get better at?
Every way. But I would just say, again, it's fourth day on the job, so I can't really talk as much about the depth of what happened last year. What happened last year is last year. I wasn't here, and I'm not going to, sit and bash anybody else as far as what they did offensively. But I think being able to our guys have ownership, us the coaching staff, blending and building this offense together from the ground up is going to be a big part of it, and putting a great product on the field.
How will that process work? I'm assuming it'll be kind of Frank's scheme and for the most part, and then influenced by you, or take us through that?
It's going to be all of it. So I think being able to rely on my experiences with the Rams, but also my other 8 stops when I was in college, kind of moving around from different places. You just mentioned Frank already, but also I got a all-star cast to kind of be around and kind of pick those guys' brains as far as even everybody from Jim Caldwell to Deuce to Josh. It's obviously camping with those guys did last year, but also picking Park's brain as well. So it's definitely going to be, and obviously adding Sean to it as well. So collaborative effort all together, and I guess we'll find out when the fall comes.
In the abridged version, how would you describe your offensive identity?
Yeah, so I kind of hit it already a little bit earlier as far as that thought process kind of going into it from a philosophy standpoint. But it's about, again, creating chaos for the defense by utilizing, shifts and motions, using tempo as well. Everything, again, starting up front from a normal D&D standpoint by imposing your will. Everybody talks about being like balanced offensively, and to me, I think balance doesn't mean always 50-50. From a run-pass standpoint, it means winning the football game. Like, stats are awesome, but the number one goal is to win football games. So we got to throw it 40 times to win, or run it 40 times to win. It's all based on our collaborative effort all together when it comes to the offense, defense, and special teams playing team ball.
Ellis Williams, Charlotte Observer. Welcome to Charlotte. You listed a detailed way you approach offense. Who would you credit as your influencers for the pillars that you are bringing to Carolina now?
Man, that's a lot. So I think everywhere from my first stop. So I was strength coach first at Georgia back in 2011. But Marcus Satterfield was the first guy I kind of had a chance to work with at UTC, who I believe now is at Nebraska, which I won't touch that too much longer. But going from that's probably a bad joke. I probably shouldn't say that. But going from Tennessee, Chattanooga to end up going to Marshall on the Bill leg was an awesome experience for me. Then going from Marshall to Wisconsin, Andy Lubbock was the offensive coordinator there. Had a great opportunity to learn from a pro-style system standpoint, using multiple personnel groupings. 11, 12, 13 was great for me. And then obviously Coach Rick. I played for him. I worked for him on 3 occasions, and we are very similar in many ways. And it's really, I was telling Frank, it's kind of very similar to me with my experience being around Coach Rick. It's kind of have the same mentality, identity-wise, but then also being able to be at South Carolina around Brian McClendon, who's now at the receivers coach at the University of Georgia, and quite naturally being with the Rams. So it's kind of an effort about everywhere I've been from a production standpoint, but also just putting my own stamp on it as well.
You mentioned some members of the staff Caldwell, Staley. Have you had any relationships with those guys previously?
So Deuce is the only one I really met, and obviously Jim this summer at the QB Summit, which I was always watched both of those guys from afar. I mean, even from a background standpoint, coach of running backs, watching Deuce, as a young guy myself, trying to find out ways to, who I want to be identity-wise, how I want to end up coaching was one guy I always looked up to. And obviously his son was at South Carolina, so I had a chance to meet him a couple of times, and he was awesome. I know he's coming up next, so he's like, I know him always having to be the energy juice guy on staffs I've been a part of. I'm going to hand it over to Deuce, which if you guys haven't met Deuce and seen his energy, it's a lot different, which I'm excited about that opportunity. And obviously, my bad, real quick. So Jim is a OG in the game and is a great human being, a great leader of men, great teacher. So I'm in a great spot to be around some great mentors.
Thomas, since winning the Super Bowl, from the outside looking in, you've kind of expanded your resume. You brought up the QB Summit. Yeah. You moved to tight ends coach. Yeah. I'm just curious, what have the last 15 months helped you kind of learn about yourself on the job, or maybe kind of expand upon your philosophies?
Yeah, I'm always trying to run from comfort. I think it's easy to sit in my comfort zone and do what I've always done, but I've always seek the growth. And unfortunately, growth and comfort don't exist in the same place. I wish it did at times, but I think I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy being stressed and strained, but also getting results, because excuses don't matter. Nobody cares, and just trying to find the best way to get that done. Boo.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Speaking of results, what is your primary barometer to measure success as you develop?
Well, I mean, obviously, success is winning. I mean, there's no other metric in this game, in my opinion. But it's about the daily process of being committed to your craft, and obviously just me trying to be the best I can be every single day for the staff, for our players, for our team.
With Fox Charlotte, what kind of quarterback would you like to see here?
A really good one. I think it's a lot of different guys that kind of come in all shapes and sizes, but to me, again, it's an ongoing conversation. We had some great dialogue the last couple of days. Fourth day on the job, so again, it's about who fits into this system, being a selfless from a mentality standpoint, but also having a point guard mentality. So being able to distribute the ball to your playmakers, and on third down, red zone, 2 minute, go play Superman. So.
How important is it for black offense coordinators to be in a position you were in and then be able to actually call the plays to get a chance to be a head coach in the NFL?
Yeah, I think the opportunity is awesome. I think the numbers, we know what the numbers are, so I'm not going to try to run down that. I think Jim kind of spoke to it and said a lot better than I can as far as his experience in the league. It was my fourth year going into it. But I am motivated to do a great job, not just for myself and this organization, but also for those coming behind me.
Have you got any kind of timetable where you be able to call the plays, though, or?
No, man, I'm just focused on Thursday. So I'm trying to find my way around the building and find a place to live. So if you have some advice, I'll definitely take that. So that'll come down the road. So my focus is on just today.
You're often described as a natural leader. Where does your ability to cultivate others and command a following come from?
That's a great question. My father, who I'm named after, is the greatest leader I know. So I think I was raised to be a leader before I even knew I was going to become one. And so just watching him, how he dealt with people, never being rattled, and always being honest is something I've modeled myself after. We are different, but I'm kind of a combination of my father and also my mother. So the aggressive side at times, or I would say argumentative side from my mom, because she is. It's a good thing. Now, don't look at me like that. It's a good thing. She's a great debater. So I'm a really good balance of both. Hopefully, she didn't take it disrespectful. Mom, I love you to death. It was all meant in fun and jokes. But I think being able to, from your question, is from a leadership standpoint, it's all about my father, my upbringing, but also trying to find my own path and be my own self. I also pull from some of those great guys I've been around that have shown me that example as well.
Sheena Quick from Fox Sports. I know it's only your fourth day, but being a former running back yourself, what are some of the things you've been able to see from Deontay Foreman? I'm specifically naming him. Chuba did a great job also, but right. He has expressed that he would love nothing more than to come back here. What are some of your initial, analysis of him just within your first week on the job?
Yeah, so what I've seen, I kind of watched, after we played you guys when I was with the Rams, when you guys came out to L.A., watched almost every single week, just evaluating and just looking at the direction the team was going in. I love the mentality. I think I'm about being a tone setter. We talked about identity-wise, number one is being physical at all 11 positions. And I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but I guess you can call it Napoleon complex, short man syndrome, whatever it is. But I've always been a force-to-issue type person. I probably sought out too much contact when I was a player. That's always kind of stuck with me as a coach. So that's one thing I definitely love about him.
Thomas, so many guys have come through Sean McVay's system and gone on to other jobs. What's that room like with him in it when you're designing, game planning, scheming, those kind of things?
It depends on the day. No, it's a great room. I think I'm thankful to have an opportunity to be around Sean. Sean and I were like high school rivals. So he went to a private school called Marist. I went to Tucker High School. So we had some battles for a long time for those 4 years. It kind of just watch others' careers kind of just take off in different directions. Obviously his probably a little faster rate than mine at times. But I think being able to have an opportunity to hear from one of the best communicators I've been around, a great culture builder, staff builder, but from an idea standpoint, being able to give input, be able to speak my mind has been awesome for me from a growth development standpoint, and it's led to me being here today.
Does he coach like he played?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yes. I think being able to be energetic, which I'm sure if you've met Sean and talked to Sean, he's definitely super energetic, but also being detailed. Playing against that triple option offense at Marist was gave me headaches, and I didn't like him very much. Even though the head coach, Alan Chad, was an awesome dude, been around him for a long time. But I would say yes to answer your question.
What did or do your parents do?
So my parents, say it again, I'm sorry.
They do.
So my father was a pastor when I grew up. He's a bishop in the CME church right now. So he has a couple years left. I think they retire at 75. So I always think I probably heard more preaching and teaching than most people because my mother was a school teacher. She's been retired for a while from the school system. So I grew up in a, I would say non-football type family. I was just a short cat running around trying to become Barry Sanders when I was 8 years old. But my upbringing was about my faith, which is still a huge part of my life now, and being a great communicator, being a teacher, but also listening and learning. No problem. I didn't forget about you.
Deshaun Brown with WSOC TV here in Charlotte. Welcome. First off, I wanted to ask you to expound on your self-description as someone who seeks to run from comfort. What about this opportunity made you uncomfortable, but a challenge you wanted to take on?
It's a great question. I think being able to, I see you now, that was a good question. She had a good one. I think being able to advance my career, also open up doors that have sometimes been closed by a number of different ways. But also I've learned to just trust God's plan. His plan is always better than mine. And I've had some different thoughts and visions for my life, and it's always become better. That's ball security number one. You can't fumble that. So I'm just messing with you. But I think being able to, be in a position where I can inspire others, lead others, but also still learn and grow, to be a great collaborator, like I said before, and learn from this great organization, this great staff as well, and put a great product on the field.
You're closer to home also.
That's awesome.
I was going to say, can you talk about being closer to home and closer to family?
Yeah, so I love California. California was great, but it felt like I was on an island sometimes just because I grew up in Georgia. I spent my first 22 years of my life in Georgia, so I'll actually be driving home this weekend to go see my mom, my dad, sit at their house for a little while. I sometimes take that time for granted, and time is one thing you don't get back, so being able to be here, I believe it's 4.5 hours, whatever it is. I still make that drive. To be close to home, see some family and friends, would be awesome.
Who's got more energy, you or Deuce?
It'll be a good competition, but I'm gonna let Deuce have that. So.
You mentioned being some of the best NFL red zone offenses converted about a 65% clip. Carolina hasn't seen that number in years. I'm wondering what your beliefs are in building the specific functions of an excellent red zone offense.
Run the football in the red zone, being able to have specific game plan as I would say any given week 5 to 7, specific game plan concepts, but also find matchups. I kind of call it find the blowfish on defense and go attack the blowfish. So we'll kind of figure out how we're built, who's the best guys to kind of activate, whether it be in the run game or pass game. It's about being able to have an identity and being consistent in that regard.
You talk about the collaboration. You've also said you got your argumentative side from your mom. And Frank's made it clear that everybody's going to have a voice. Yeah. When you hear him say that, how empowering is that? Because there is a ton of experience on this staff, a lot of veteran, kind of grizzled veterans, and then you've got kind of the up-and-coming voices. How do you balance that, and how do you how empowering is it to know that you're valued?
Yeah, so I love it just because I have an opportunity to be in this role, even be elevated and promoted twice with the Rams was because of me being able to speak my voice and have a mind and a thought process in that building. But you talk about us as a coaching staff, experienced guys from all different walks of life and different backgrounds. But it's about being able to always understand what is right over who is right. I think being able to take a back seat sometimes of what I feel like might be best for me versus what's going to be best for the entire football team. So I think it's rare you find really good coaches and great people and put them together, because oftentimes some of the best coaches I've been around have been some of the worst people, and some of the best people I've been around have been some of the worst coaches. So I think being able to, it just shows how detailed this organization was when it comes to finding the best of both worlds and bringing them together.
Thomas, the league seems to be moving in this direction of rotational running back groups. Yeah. Deuce has done it, Frank's done it, Sean's done it. You've obviously been a part of that. Yep. Are you big on guys facilitating different roles within a rotation, or would you prefer a guy who can kind of do everything?
I think it depends on how you're built. And I think also it's hard to operate just with one guy. I think it's that spot, as I know, is a very rough spot to stay healthy because of the contact you take on. If you play it the right way, it's a very violent position. But I think being able to keep guys fresh to me is important. Attacking guys the entire game, and when it becomes to the fourth quarter, we still have 2, maybe even 3 fresh backs that are ready to roll. They go attack a defense.
I know you don't dig into it until next week for sure at the combine, but what do you like about the quarterback class coming out this year?
You're going to keep trying to go back to the quarterback question. I'm going to give you a similar answer. I think being able to take it one day at a time, we've had some great dialogue, and looking forward to figuring out that down the road.
Thomas, Mike Solarte, Spectrum News 1, welcome to town.
Thank you.
Back to philosophy. Are you, in your development as a coach, do you feel that it's scheme to the personnel, or scheme that personnel can adapt to, personnel that fit? I mean, how do you view what is the most successful recipe for your style of offense?
It's a player's game. So it's not about what we feel like to do as coaches or what we've kind of been accustomed to. It's about how to highlight those guys and put them in the best spot to be successful. So it always starts with the players first. We'll build a system around those guys versus making those guys have to adjust to us. Put the hard part on us, make it simple for them, let those guys go play.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Talking to you.